to it. So I like different kind of, the pit balls that you can get, the little small balls. They're really good. And everything that I have is in a massive net bag. Anything I can wash as well. So talking about the baby sensory kind of thing that you'll see this afternoon, I use a lot of hand puppets, but they're like wash mitts. But they're different animals, and again they're really nice. If they get dirty, then we can wash those. So yeah, balls and hand mitts are probably my two that are quite easy to carry around. But no one can ever get in my car because the boot is full of stuff. It's like a treasure trove.
I think as well is like let's not be conned into going to any of these big suppliers as well, like JP Leonard and all those.
No, I found out what you guys have here because I asked this question to your colleagues earlier, because we have a Poundland in England, and I swear I must have shares in that place. I buy the majority of the products that they have in their baby section, and deals, Mr. Price, Eurosaver. See, got it.
Yeah. I even think they have some little ducks in from Mother's Day as well. Little ducks with crowns on things.
How do you ensure that it kept clean?
Milton, do you have Milton here? Yeah, again, pound store, Milton, so take it home and wash it in there. Or the Dettol disinfectant, so anything that's cloth. So I've got some cloth sinkers and things, but normally if you keep them dry and you hang them in net bags, they don't get too mouldy or dirty, so you go right. Remember to take them out the boot of your car, it doesn't smell very fresh.
Okay, next question I think is something that's probably most of us have come across at some point or another, so I'm going to just direct this to Hannah. So this is around the depth of the swimming pool. So any tips for using a pool that has no beach or shallow water when teaching toddler classes?
Yeah, well, all our toddler classes, we have our parents in the water, so actually it's a little bit easier for us. We always have carers in the water with them, so the carers become that safety point. So I think we kind of get away with that quite lightly. But yeah, I think it's just about around what Katie was saying earlier about making the little ones safe around the water, so they know when to wait at the side, they know when to swim across when somebody's there with them, and making sure they're kind of disciplined but in a fun way, so they understand when it's safe to go, and they understand the dangers of going to the middle. There's lots of amazing flotation products you can use as well. We don't need them because we use the carers to do that, but there's lots of things like float jackets and things that little ones can do. But things I'd say about that is don't get them reliant on them, because they don't realise when you take them off they can't float. So get that balance.
That's interesting because that links into another question from somebody who says, are armbands a no-no? So anybody
pick up on that one as well.
You give your opinion. Everyone can have a turn. Yeah.
So again, we have our carers in the water, so we don't use armbands. I think going back to the sort of back in the day when I was a lifeguard, armbands terrified me because it becomes a really easy option for parents to let little ones go and think they're safe with armbands on. They've got little skinny arms, they lift their arms up in the air and the arm comes to fly off. You can get punctures in them, and for me they're really dangerous. They've got their uses, but I think they need to be monitored really carefully. So yeah, we don't use them, but appreciate that lots of schools do.
I'm in the same way then, this is good. No arguments on stage. No, for me with armbands, with so many pools that we have across the country, we don't have the pleasures of always having a parent or carer in the water with our children, and you might end up with one teacher with 6 preschoolers in the class at the same time. So we do use things like shark fins and life jackets and armbands, but just as Hannah said, we make sure that they are used properly, so we're not teaching our swimmers to swim in this vertical position, that actually they have got them on, that they are in a nice flat horizontal position, encouraging facing the water, chin down, and again making sure that they come off as well, so there's a period of time that flotation equipment comes off. They're great for creating independence, but again used ineffectively, you either end up with this nice cycling leg action that your next teacher has got to try and correct, or a child that is solely reliant on them as well.
And Ulrika, in Denmark and Sweden?
I can't answer generally, of course, because you will see swim schools that or swim schools that actually uses flotation blades. Me, from the point I come from, I don't like it. I know that children learn from experience, so if they're buoyed up in this is what they learn. It changes their body, and if you're going to build a good swimmer, an Olympian, they need to learn right from start, right? So don't build in any bad things. But they also, it provides them some independence. So again, use moderate, used with the knowledge behind it, because then I can choose direction, I can choose speed, I can swim away from my mom, I can get that independence that is important around 1.5 years old. And I also say that, I mean, armbands is one kind of, and that is more dynamic than hands, which is also a flotation aid in some way. So if we kind of remember that these hands are not just a good, what do you call it?
Support?
No, just like if you use armbands or hands can be as bad, right? So you need to educate the person with the hands. So to understand water. So that's move with the water and the baby, so understanding that so they get a real experience of the water.
Yeah. I mean, I think as well there's, swim schools who are teaching in deep water, and deep water could be 0.6 meters for a 3-year-old child. When a child is out of their depth and there isn't a parent or carer in the water and there isn't an assistant teacher because perhaps your facility won't pay for another person in the water, or perhaps your facility has decided that your teachers have to be on deck, you do have to be able to look at those pieces of equipment that are fixed, that are children are not going to fall off. And as swimming teachers, it might not necessarily fit with our kind of ethos and our feeling of like what is the ideal, but unfortunately for most of us we have to conform to the rules and regulations of the facilities that we work in. So I think as a national governing body it's really important for us to make sure that we're actually training people on how to deliver when you find yourself in those environments. So I spent 12 years working utilising a deep water method of teaching, where it was me with 12 3-year-olds in water where they couldn't stand. And that was hard. No, we used discs. But it was still hard because yes, they're in an upright position, but they can't necessarily stay in an upright position, and they tip and they rock. So we as a governing body are trying to educate. Steve?
Yes,
Yeah?
just